Hey everyone, I'm Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. Thank you for tuning in on every Saturday. I really, really appreciate you. We are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, so please do enter your comments and questions in the chat box. My next guest, he's he's amazing, and he's born and raised in West Baltimore City. And in his high school year, he suffered a spinal cord injury that initially left him paralyzed to the point where he could not even breathe on his own. But since then, he's moved forward to achieve a lot of accolades. I'll let him tell you about himself, but he is a founder of a nonprofit organization for youth. And his work has led him to receive many local and national accolades, including the President's Volunteer Service Award from the Barack Obama administration. And in 2017, he was also appointed by Maryland's Governor Larry Hogan to serve as the director of the Governor's Office on Service and Volunteerism. And he serves on multiple boards, including the University of Maryland's Medical System Community Advisory Council, Loyola Blakefield and Towson University, St. Elizabeth School in Baltimore. So he's, like I said, he's a very extraordinary person. And everyone, please welcome Van Brooks to the show. Thank you. Hey, Van, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I did okay?
You did.
Okay. Thank you so much for just joining me today on this discussion. And you and I originally, we actually, I guess it's like iron sharpens iron. And then once you get into a certain type of circle and like a servant circle, a giving circle, or whatever industry you're in, eventually everyone starts to kind of touch points. And we do have mutual colleagues, Alfonso Mayo. He was on the show a few weeks ago. The topic was on domestic violence, and he actually shared his experience as a victim and as a perpetrator. And a lot of his youth were watching, so that was really good. Shalita O'Neill, the nonprofitista, she served as a guest on the show, and she was helping our guests to just like kind of like the basics of starting a nonprofit organization, and not just the logistical aspects of how to register or anything like that, but just really like about, who's your tribe and why are you doing this, and some of those challenges and opportunities for growth. And so you and I, we connected originally. I didn't know that you knew these people. So you and I originally connected on LinkedIn. Yes, so everyone, networking does work. Social media does work if you use it correctly. Absolutely. And I'll step back a little bit, and I would like for you to tell the audience about yourself and your story and who you are.
Yes, so my journey, it really began at the age of 7. So I'm going to take it way back. 7 is when I really started to develop a passion for football. I'm born and raised in West Baltimore. I have 4 older siblings. I'm the only boy. And so just growing up in West Baltimore, running around, being a kid, sports was just a part of my life. I've always played basketball and football, but football was really the one that I fell in love with. And so went to private schools all my life. And I was blessed because, being the youngest, unfortunately, my older siblings weren't able to go, but my parents sacrificed so much in order to send me. And, went to St. Peter's Claver up in Sandtown, Winchester. And then, is there a little echo?
Yeah, I hear it on your end.
You are hearing it?
Mm-hmm. But okay. It just went away.
It went away? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I went to St. Peter's Claver, which is in Sandtown. And then from there, I went out to Loyola Blakefield. From 6th through 12th grade is when I was there, and became a really, really good football player while there. I was a 3-sport athlete: football, basketball, and lacrosse. And it was during my junior year, the beginning of my junior year, I went in for a tackle and I broke my neck. And as a result of that, I was paralyzed from the neck down, unable to do anything for myself. And doctors said that that's how it would be for the rest of my life. And I had a decision to make in that moment. And my dad presented those things to me. He said, you're going to deal with it or not. And at the time I was 16. And of course, being a little naive, not quite understanding what it really meant to break your neck, because I always thought if you break your neck, you died. And so it was one of those things like, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Or it went from that to, I'm going to recover back from this and I'm going to go on and play football again. But that wasn't what occurred.
Okay, and so, but you were paralyzed from the neck down, and over time, your brain is sending the messages to your body to move. You're healing over time. How does this? Because I see now you're moving your shoulders. You're able to move your hands and feed yourself, and I
Yeah.
see now that you are in physical therapy and you're working on to walk again or to stand, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so tell me about that process. Like, is it over a certain time? Like, what is it over 2 years, 1 year, 5 years, 6 years? Tell me about your body's process of kind of healing.
Yeah. So I've been at it for 16 years. As soon as I came out of the hospital, so I guess I was in shock trauma for about 2 months. And then I was transferred to another rehab center, and I was there for about a month. And then when I came home out of the hospital completely in 2005, I started my physical therapy at another space. They were just starting their spinal cord unit. I was the first patient. And so at that time, being young, I just was like, hey, whatever I need to do to try to walk again, uh, just sign me up for it. And at the time, I wasn't even able to sit up on my own. I did get movement back in my arms a little bit, but I still wasn't able to sit up on my own. I still wasn't able to feed myself. And so it was just throughout the years of 5 days a week intensive therapy, I just started to get things back. I started to get movement in my arms. The exercises, was able to lift my arms higher and higher. But it took literally over the course of, I want to say, over the course of 8 years before I was able to walk again. I still had assistance, using a walker, using a harness. But year by year, I was just gradually getting things back more and more and more. I started getting all my feeling back, so I do have all my feeling. The main, I guess, issues right now is, of course, outside of my legs. I can't move my fingers still. I have really weak triceps and I have a really weak core. But I'm completely independent. I drive. I do everything on my own. But that all started to happen over the course of 8 years.
Okay, everyone. Van, he actually. Okay, there you are. You paused a little bit, and I do hear an echo. So if you do you have headphones or anything?
Yes, I do. I do.
And we have Alfonso Mayo. So Mayo is on. He says that I'm the only person that calls him Alfonso. So we have Mayo on. Yeah. I actually I know someone that's close to me that is paraplegic, and his spinal cord injury was from a gunshot wound, and he's completely independent. He lives alone. He drives as well. And his in our conversation, for him, his motivation was, and he was paralyzed, so paraplegic, so he still had movement in his arms. Everyone, so move his arms and everything, and he had to build his strength. But just watching his progress, and he's working out now, he's going to the gym, and just what I'm doing right now on my own. A lot of us, we take things for granted, to be able to just sit up on your own. Some people don't have enough strength to be able to just sit, or to pick up something or to lift themselves. And the conversation that I had with him about his motivation, he said that he was at his mother's house, and his mother had to wipe the feces off of him, and he was saying that he made the decision to not feel sorry for himself, and to not he didn't want to live like that. So that was his motivation for being where he's at now, and so I commend you for that. And I'm hoping that there are individuals on here that are listening, if you've had a spinal cord injury, I hope that Van Brooks can serve as an inspiration to you, and for you to, to keep hope. And it does take time, right?
It does.
Um,
It takes a very long time.
and what advice do you have for other individuals in your situation who may not have access to the physical therapy or some of the services that you have access to?
Yeah. So what I would say is become your own advocate. You have to be your biggest advocate and take things one day at a time. It's not going to be easy all the time. You're going to have your good days. You're going to have your bad days. As I said earlier, I've been at this for 16 years, and I still have really bad days where I just don't want to do anything. But I always say, just take it one day at a time. And something that my dad told me when I asked him how did he get through the injury when I injured myself, taking care of me, my mother, the family, and working. And he said he did what he had to do that day to make it through the next day.
He did what he had to do that day to make it through the next day.
Yes. Yes.
And so, in addition to, so you're in high school, you're in your junior year, and you broke your neck, but you still graduated high school on time.
Yes.
And went on to get a college degree. Where did the motivation come from that? How did you cope?
Yeah. So in the hospital, in shock trauma, I tried to give up. I no longer wanted to deal with the fight of a spinal cord injury. And my dad, and at the time I couldn't talk. And my dad, he knew that I had given up that fight in that moment. And when I woke up, my dad was standing over me, and he said two things to me that changed my life. He said, "A man isn't defeated when he loses; he's defeated when he gives up." And then he said, "God's going to do his part. I'm going to do my part, and you need to do your part." And that was a direct challenge to me, and I had to accept that challenge. And so when the naysayers and the negativity, and I was in my own head, I would always tell myself, a man isn't defeated when he loses, he's defeated when he gives up. And no matter what I was going through, I just couldn't give up on myself. And just day after day, whenever I was going through those things, I would just keep repeating that to myself. And I would say, one day at a time, what do I need to do? And so going throughout my journey, certain things just became a habit. I got accustomed to doing things, and I just refused to give up on myself. But I also had a really good support team behind me when I was like, I'm done. My team was like, you come too far. I'm not letting you get I'm not letting you. And that's what helps me, and that's what continues to motivate me. We talk about Mayo, my God. I go through things all the time, and he always somehow comes up to send me a message early in the morning, or saying, "Hey, bro, I'm just thinking about you. Here's a scripture." It's people like that that are always there at the right moments when I need them.
That's right. Thank you. And we have Danielle Brown checking in on Facebook. Hey, Danielle. And she says, thank you for sharing your message and your strength. And Kanaith, hi, Kanaith Thomas. She's in Baltimore. So both Danielle and Kanaith. So Baltimore is showing out for you, coming up for you. Kanaith, she says, wow, perseverance. And Mayo says, one day at a time. God says, daily bread. Take up my daily bread. So thank you for that. Actually, I'm going to put that on the screen. I think that was a really nice message. So you graduated college, and then you went on to found your own nonprofit organization, Safe Alternative. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the idea for this foundation came to me from a dream. So I'm a back up a little. Going through my injury, I always asked, why me? That was always the question I asked God, why me? I even lost my faith going through this injury. Why me? I didn't deserve it. And my dad said to me one day, he said, why not you? You're no exception. Bad things happen to everyone. You're no exception. And I didn't understand what he meant by that. I really didn't. And so going through my journey and advocating for myself, and I taught, well, the first day I took my steps after my injury was 8 years and 2 days after. Is it okay if I didn't want to move because my headphones are actually in my bag in the back, but
Go ahead.
you
Go
know
ahead.
what to do you want me, I can put the computer on my lap and go and keep talking.
You sound okay. It's probably irritating to you, but I think so. The audience, can you hear Van okay? Can you check in and let us know that if you can hear okay, or because I mean, you sound okay with me. I mean, there is a little echo, but it's not that we can't understand you. But I understand what you're saying if you can't hear yourself.
No, I'm fine. I was worried about the audience.
No, so someone from the audience check in and let us know that you can hear us okay.
Okay. But I'll keep going, and if I need,
you're fine, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Kristen Woodruff. She's in Las Vegas. She says yes, just fine. So thanks for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good.
Perfect. So 8 years and 2 days after. So September 25th is when I was injured. September 27th is when I was able to take those steps. And I woke up and I woke up from a dream that said, Van, start a nonprofit. You have this story, you need to share it with others, and you need to help people. And so something that was always instilled in me at Loyola and from my parents is that Loyola, the mission is to become a man for others and to pay it forward, right? So when people do things for you, pay it forward to someone else. And when I was injured, when I tell you the community stepped up and helped us, they helped me, they helped my parents, they helped my family at our darkest moments. At the times where we didn't see light at the time, there were people every single day there to support us. And so for me, it was, how do I repay those people back? And the way that I can repay them back is to pay it forward. And I just wanted to pay it forward and bring resources and opportunities to my community that we didn't have. Growing up and living in West Baltimore, but going to private schools, I saw both sides. I like to say I had the best of both worlds. And my networks at the school gave me resources that I could bring to my neighborhood. And that's just what I wanted to do. And so in 2012, I started Safe Alternative Foundation for Education with the mission to teach about the importance of having an education and a backup plan for life.
Okay. And so in your mission statement, you have you're teaching youth about the importance of education, but
Yes.
as well as having an alternate career plan.
Yes.
And to anticipate life's deviation.
Yes.
And this comes from your experience, because in your mind, you knew your trajectory was to be a professional football player. Am I correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
And that didn't happen. And so you had to, I guess, repurpose yourself. But based off of you speaking, the leadership skills and just who you are at the core, I mean, that was a foundation set from home. And like you said, just from your, you had the best of both worlds. So I believe that's just who you are at the core.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see. Why is it? And I do think it's important for us to have an alternate career plan, or for us to be flexible. And for one, our careers don't define. And we should choose things that, that we find it's like a calling, like a mission for. Of course, we have to work and we all have to earn money and pay bills, right? Yeah. But your career is, and this is interesting. I want to backtrack. When I first moved here, I've been living in Maryland in the DMV area for 7 years now. When I first moved here, and I was kind of going out and mingling, and the first question that people would ask me, "What's the question?" You already know the question. What's the question?
What school did you go to?
No, for me it was no, it was, what do you do? So maybe that was the DC, because I was hanging out, I was going to DC, but it literally was, I would meet people and they would say, "So what do you do?" Like, that's the conversation starter. I always thought that was rude, but it's different here. But yeah, it was what do you do? And a lot of us we are defined by, where we went to school and what jobs, and that's just who we are, and that's our identity. And if that changes, some
Mhm.
people don't know how to manage or cope with that.
Mhm.
So I think it is important to, just to be flexible and to think about all the skills that you have, and say, okay, if this is not working, COVID, some of us lost our jobs. We have Kristen, she created a product. She's a teacher, but she has a product, Buttered in Bliss, and I've seen a lot of people kind of creating things, or I've been a real estate agent. I've been a loan officer. I tried to be a teacher, but I wasn't good enough, apparently. Like I did some national program, and I did the yuppies. It was like it wasn't even a selection of peers. It was some yuppies that didn't even grow up in the neighborhood that they were placing teachers in. And so anyway, I didn't make that one. I've done a lot of things. Worked in construction, administration. I've done like
Yeah.
PR. Try different things. But that's just kind of how life works out.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about accountability.
Mhm.
What are some of the messages that you give to young people and within your organization about accountability?
I just basically tell them, when you make a decision, you have to stand on it. You have to stand on the decision that you make. Um, we talk about a lot about the commitment and just following through with everything. Because at the end of the day, all you have is your word. And if people know that you can be accountable for your actions, you can be accountable for the things that you say. People stand by those things, and people respect that. And I always talk to my kids about building a legacy. What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be known? And I mean, accountability is just major. It's a major piece in a legacy.
And what do you want your legacy to be?
Now, I want my legacy to be a true man for others.
Say it again.
A man for others. That like a true man for others. I want when people think about Van Brooks, I want people to say, Van gave his all to help his community and to help people.
Okay. And so with your nonprofit organization, from my understanding, you actually invest in real estate. The nonprofit organization invests in real estate. And we do have some people that are watching who actually have a nonprofit organization,
Okay.
or are interested in starting one. Now, why did you choose that instead of renting a space?
Yeah, I chose it because of sustainability. For me, I've grown up in my neighborhood. I've seen so many resources come and go, and it always seemed like the resources, once people really start to get used to those and really love those things and participate in these programs, then all of a sudden they're just snatched away, and they're snatched away, not because they weren't successful, but maybe for funding or change in ownership of a space, whatever it may have been. I just saw that as something that I didn't want to do to my community. I didn't want to start something, get people happy and excited about it, providing the things that they need and that they want, and then I turn back around and say, I don't have the space, or I can't do it anymore. And I just see owning real estate as a way of making sure that we can be here forever. I own this space on this corner where we run this youth center. And I always say, as long as I can keep the lights on, we can always run programming. And that was just major for me. It was just major for me to be able to have something here that can stay here, but also show my kids that you can be owners of properties and you can do these types of things in your own community. And that's just important. They need to see that representation. They need to see people that look like them, come from where they come from, owning property and doing good things for the community and being successful. And so all of that was just huge for me. And I tell everyone, if you can buy your equipment, if you can buy your real estate, buy it, because at the end of the day, it'll pay off.
Okay, so you actually you founded two nonprofit organizations. So there's Safe Alternative, but then there's also Safe Center. And so Safe Center, that the
So it's one. It's one.
okay.
Safe Alternative Foundation for Education. I like to look at that as just like the mother of everything else that I'm going to be working on. The Safe Center is just a space for me to actually do the work and fulfill the mission of Safe Alternative.
Okay. And what are some of the programming that you offer?
So our focus areas are literacy, health and fitness, and STEAM. And our programs, they change annually. We run about 25 to 30 different programs annually, all based around those things. So, let's say for STEM, for example, we will run woodshop classes. That has been one of the most consistent classes that we run, woodshop. We ran that for 5 years since I opened the Safe Center. And we're going to continue to run that. My new center that I'm in the process of opening will actually have our own wood shop, so we won't have to travel too far to get to one, and we can accommodate more students. But wood shop is one. Wood shop gives insight into a potential career path. It teaches math skills, but it also connects the dots for our students between the math class and the real world to show them why that's important, that they understand the fractions and the decimals that they're learning in the classroom and how they can apply it in their life.
That's really good. And then even just entrepreneurship. I wanted to take wood shop in high school, but I couldn't get in the class.
Yeah.
I said I was an auto shop. So I can change a tire, change oil, I can do some stuff.
Well, when this wood shop opens, you can come on down.
But I think it's a good opportunity for entrepreneurship as well. So with the farm, I mean, it can grow into a lot of different things. Farmers markets, some of the kids, they can actually create products and sell it, or even Safe Center proceeds, to support the center or the family, the kids as well. So I think that's just a good, it can grow. And I think you have a vision for that already. So I probably don't have to tell you.
I take all ideas.
Yeah, and so where do your funding? Is your funding, is it individual donors or is it foundations?
It's a mix.
It's a mix of both. And have you ever been in a situation where you deny funding because a funder wants you to do something that doesn't align with your core values?
Oh, yes, absolutely. One of my biggest things was always early on. We haven't ran across it too much lately, but early on, we are a small organization by choice. And when I say small, as far as the number of students that we serve, for years we've only served 12 students, and then just 2 years ago we made a decision to go to 20 students, but we won't go above 20 students. And so, and I understand that a lot of funders, they want to make sure that their funding is having an impact on as many people as possible. But for me, I go for the quality of programs and the quality of the resources and opportunities that we're providing, and just that impact, that holistic approach to students, right? Because every student learns differently, and so we have to adjust to their learning styles. With 50 to 100 kids, we can't do that. Not with my staff. And so one of the major issues was always, we'll give you this money, but we need you to grow and accommodate more kids. We can't do that. We can't do that. That's not for us. Or some of the times, we've had a few instances where they wanted us to pivot a little bit of the programming to fit within something that we really didn't do. If it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. And I'm not going to get in a rat race of changing my program for money. It's not.
Yeah, and I agree. And then also, so sometimes those change requests, that's because of just a short term and they're thinking process. We've reached this many students, and for numbers sake, and to say that we did this, and maybe even a few photo ops, but the way that you're modeling and you're choosing a cohort of youth, this is medium term, long term. So this is throughout middle school, high school, and you can actually measure your impact on their life by by keeping it small, because you're able to give them that attention that they need, and again, the sustainability, and keep them long term. So at the end, you'll have productive adults in society, and
Yeah.
adults that contribute and give back. Because if that's what you're instilling, like I said earlier, just who you are at the core, it comes from a foundation. And based off of your conversation, I know it comes from your family. I know it comes from the coaches that you had, teachers, people that were around you instilling certain values. And so you're doing the same thing for those kids as well. So thank you for that, and thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have Keone Gray. Hey, Cuzzo. He's checking in from Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. And Alfonso says, preach. I don't know if he's talking to me or you. I'm pretty sure he was talking to you. Before we close out, is there anything that you want to say, or anything that you have any questions for me? We can switch it.
So let's see. Anything I want to say, I'll think of a question, but anything I want to say, I just want to, anyone who's going through adversity, I just want to encourage them to keep pushing. And again, take it one day at a time. Do what you have to do that day to get through to tomorrow, and eventually you'll see light at the end of the tunnel. The quote again: "A man is defeated when they lose; they're defeated when they give up." So just keep pushing, keep fighting. If you have a vision, go for it. So many people throughout my life since I was a kid have always told me the things that I couldn't accomplish. But I had a core group of people that told me the things that I could accomplish. And that whole idea of you can accomplish anything you put your mind to is truth. Is truth. And so it's a matter of just getting started. What I always say is take inventory of the resources and the tools you have now, because a lot of people will say, I don't have enough, or I'll do it when I have this, or I'll do it when I have that. You have enough. You just have to take the inventory of what you currently have and begin to use those as building blocks to expand, to get to where you want to be eventually. Once you put it out there and start telling people what your mission is, people who believe in that mission will find you. And so that would be my piece of advice about that. Question for you is, what are your next steps? And I'm very big on how can I help. I want to help. So how can I help you with something that you're working on?
So what I'm doing, I'm in the process now. A few people have been following my story on Facebook and Instagram. I'm doing a 10-day full body cleanse, and it's from D Herbs, and actually the owner of the company, A.D. Dolphin, I'll be interviewing him at the end of November. But I'm doing this cleanse, but this cleanse is not just about it's a reset for me. And it's not just about my physical body. And I'm also kind of doing like a spiritual, not necessarily cleanse, but just more enlightenment and exploring, and then personal development and care. I'm actually in a hotel room right now. I'm taking a break from the world, and this is the only work that I'm doing. But I really don't see this as work. But I'm actually in the process now of just making sure, in my book, I write about my life vision. And so I wrote a book, it's somewhere around here, The Journal of a Woman with Lived Experiences, a 21-day guided journal. For those of you who are watching, you can purchase it online at shantajackson.com. And I have a section in here on life visioning. And then I also have my bucket list of things that I want to do and how I envision myself. And so what I'm in the process of doing right now is doing some self-reflection to figure out, am I on the right path, and am I making the right decisions to get to where I want to go? Or did I change my mind about where I want to go? What is it that I really, really want to do? My company, Cause Engagement Associates, is very active, and I have a nice client portfolio, but I'm asking myself, is this what I really want to do? Right. And so I'm at the point right now where I'm just kind of doing some personal reflection, and I'm going to make choices about, what's been working well and what should I continue to do, and what is not working well. And then even just personally, some of my decisions that I'm making regarding relationships, and not just, so this can be friendships, family, intimate relationships, am I doing something, or there are some changes that I need to make? What do I want for myself? So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm in the process of doing that. So I'll follow up with you. I kind of want to, I don't want to really answer that question now because I'm in my process of doing some things this weekend for myself.
Yeah.
But my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. I feel that my strength and my skill set, I'm definitely a good facilitator. I'm really good at connecting, and people hire me for it's either engagement with community or stakeholders, or helping them with their strategy. And this could be strategy for implementation or strategy for evaluation.
Mhm.
And I'm good at, like, I have a group of lawyers that I'm working with. I have no legal background, and I actually a lot of times feel like not necessarily incompetent, but I don't know the lingo. I don't know if I'm what I'm saying, but I'm invited to every meeting, and I've been told that they will never start a project again without me. And it's a Black Lives Movement type of project. It's actually the People's Commission to Decriminalize Maryland. So if any of you all are interested in learning more, you can visit decrimmaryland.org to learn more about that initiative. And so basically what they're doing is it's actually a lot of various organizations across the state of Maryland, and they're looking at criminal code as it relates to drug policy, homelessness, poverty, sex work, and youth. And so they're looking at mostly adult criminal code, but some youth criminal code, and to identify what changes in Maryland law, what changes need to be made. And we're actually in the process now of lobbying for the next assembly session. And so that's for 2021, 2022. But this is something that I've never really imagined myself doing. So it's just like me trying to figure out, what are the projects that I really love? And then
Yeah.
what are the projects that are kind of like when you were saying about that situation about the funder, certain funders, and not necessarily now, but you've had that problem in the past where people are like, this is what we want you to do, and it doesn't necessarily align with you, or you don't feel good about it. And so I'm in the process now where I have some projects to where, of course, it pays the bills, but it's not fun, and I don't like to do anything when it's not fun. And I'm self-employed for a reason,
Right.
and I don't like people to tell me what to do. And I will stop. I will quit. I will leave. I will find something else to do. I will be a loan officer. I would do, if this is not working out and if this is what I got to put up with, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now. But I definitely appreciate you for extending your support, and I will accept it. And we will be connecting, and you're actually supporting me right now. So the initial ask was for you to be on my show, and you're here. So that this is helping me right now. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anyone in the audience before we sign out? Any questions, comments? I'll pause for a second and just give them the opportunity. Again, everyone, my name is Shanta Jackson, and my purpose in life is to help people to help themselves and others. You can learn more about Van Brooks at vanbrooks.com, and you can follow him on Instagram, and his Instagram is on the screen. On the screen, Van Brooks 25. And then, as always, you can learn more about me at shantajackson.com. I updated my website, so all of the YouTube shows are there, or the links are there for to watch past episodes. And then also, I often serve as a guest on radio podcasts of others, and so some of those interviews are posted as well. If you want to collaborate, reach out to me as well. And have a great day, and thank you so much. And let me just, before I sign out, make sure I don't have any questions, comments. Nope. All right. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.